Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to a brand new Web Design Tuts Plus video series. I'm Adi and today we'll start building a WordPress theme. It's called Adaptive and this is what it looks like. It's a nice theme with some custom widgets, support for post formats like links, quotes and stuff like that. And we'll even build a simple plugin. Now this will be a massive series. We'll start with some Photoshop design, then we'll take that and write some HTML and CSS, and finally we'll transform the whole thing in a functional WordPress theme. So let's begin. Okay, so before we begin putting pixels together, we gotta set up our document. And I've created a new document. It's 1300 by 1200. And I have a grid on top of it. It's a 12-column grid, the vertical one. That's an exact replica of the Bootstrap grid. And then we have a baseline grid, which you can see right here, the blue lines. This is a 21 pixel baseline grid. Now, why 21 pixels? The thing is, when working with a baseline grid, this has to be the exact size as your font leading. The leading is the same thing as line height. And usually line height is calculated by font size multiplied by 1.5. So if you have a font size of 12 pixels, you'll have an 18 pixel line height or leading. In our case, we have a 14 pixel base font size. So that means our leading and our baseline grid will be 21 pixels. Okay, so once we did this, we're ready to begin. And I'm gonna start by hiding the grid and creating a custom background. So we'll say noise BG. Okay, I'm gonna fill this with a color, and the color is going to be, let's see if I can find it, F7, F8, F8. Okay, it's kind of a light grayish color, and we're gonna apply some noise to it. So go to filter, noise, add noise, and you gotta put these settings right here. 1.5% uniform and check monochromatic. Click OK, and now we're ready to roll. So create a new group, call it top. Let's give it a color, and we'll begin with the top menu. Now the top menu, create a new group, top menu, and create a new rectangle tool, sorry. It's gonna be 1300. We'll align that top and center, and we'll give it a color of 2B3039. Okay, next up we gotta apply a pattern to it. So double click it, click pattern overlay, and we're gonna select this pattern right here. It's pixel pattern 4. It's downloaded from Premium Pixels. You can find the link below the video. So click it, and we're gonna change its opacity to about 60%. So now we're left with something like this. Okay, very nice. Next, let's add some text. And I'm gonna add a few links very quickly. Link 1, link 2, link 3. I'm just using spaces here because the actual spacing that's going to be done will be the precise one in CSS. So right now we're just interested in the colors and the positioning of the elements. We'll change the color to C9, 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 and Helvetica New as font, regular, 12 pixels, and you can leave it to crisp. Now let's bring up the grid, and we'll place this right here between the two lines so that it's aligned with the baseline grid. And make sure you have 21 pixels of spacing above it and below it. That means we can move this up a bit like that. All right, perfect. Now let's move on to the logo. The logo, very simple. We're not going to spend too much time on it. It's going to be the same color as this top bit. Breeze serif, we'll do 24 pixels or a bit higher, 30 pixels. And again, we'll align it with the grid. Something like that. Next up is a top ad. So let's create a new group, top ad, and we'll make this 468 by 60. Fill it with white, and we'll create some custom styling like a stroke. That's going to be D7, 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 and also an outer glow. Let's see, outer glow. Color is going to be black. We'll change the blend mode to multiply. The opacity will be 10%, and the size will be 7 pixels. Okay, so that gives us a nice glow around our box. Let's add some text quickly, 468 by 60. Center line, Helvetica New, 14 or even 12 pixels. And we'll go ahead and align it with its base. Now let's align this with the grid. Okay, something like that. I'm gonna leave 42 pixels of padding above it and below it. And the last thing we need to do is align this logo with the actual ad box. Okay, so when we'll code it, we'll make sure to make the logo 60 pixels, which is the exact size, the exact height of the ad block. And that means we're gonna center align the logo with the box. But for now, this will do just fine. Let's move on to the menu. For the menu, let's create a group called main menu. Grab the line tool and draw a line, something like this, while holding shift. Okay, I'm gonna move it down a bit so that it sits on the baseline grid. I'm gonna give it the same border color as we used previously, D7, D7, D7. and we'll call this sep from separator. Let's go ahead and add some menu links. Again, very simple here. Helvetica new, 14 pixels. Bold. And the color is the same color that we used for the logo text and the top area. Okay, let's bring out the grid. Okay, we'll align it with the grid. All right. And now it's time to complete our header. And to do that, I'm gonna go to top, create a new layer. I'm gonna call it top BG. I'm gonna put it below everything else. And I'll do this. Make a quick selection, fill it with white using Command and backspace. Okay, and I'm gonna bring it up like that. Now let's apply some styling to it. First of all, it's a stroke. D7, D7, D7. And then we'll go ahead and apply an inner glow. So click inner glow. The color is going to be black. Set the blend mode to multiply. Choke is going to be 100%. Size will be 5 pixels. And opacity is going to be 2 pixels. Okay, so this creates a nice, I call it bevel effect. It gives the whole top area a bit of depth right here. But if we take a look on the left side, we can see that we have the same effect here, and we don't want that. So just an easy fix, we'll resize this outside the boundaries of our document. Okay, so now we only see the effect on the bottom part. The very last thing we need to do is add an outer glow to make a drop shadow. So outer glow, it's going to be 10% opacity, black, multiply, and the size is 7 pixels. Okay, very nice. So as you can see, 2 glows applied to the same element can create a really, really nice effect. Okay. So with that out of the way, we can go ahead and focus on the drop-down menu. Now the drop-down menu is a pretty simple one. Let's make it here. So we'll say drop-down menu. Let's grab the rectangle tool, something like this, fill it with white, and we're gonna copy the effects that we have on the add right here. So select the add layer, hold Alt, click on the FX icon, and simply drag it to copy it. And that copies the layer styles from this to this. Okay. Let's move it up. Okay, and the text here is going to be, let's do level 1, level 2, and level 3. actually, they should be called item 1, item 2, and item 3. Okay, remove the bold. And we must position them so they align with our baseline grid, something like this. Okay, and I'll also move these 14 pixels from the left. Okay, and actually we can create some more spacing. Let's go to character, spacing, and I'm gonna do 42 pixels of spacing. Okay, so that means our items align every 2 rows of grid. And that means we can also do some lines here. Okay, something like that. Something like that. All right. Bit of an issue here though, because as you can see, the item on the top has a bit too much spacing above it. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll align these items with this line right here. So the actual separator sits on the baseline grid. Okay, so now it looks as it should. Okay, there it is. You can also make this a bit smaller. And you can also mask the separators. Okay, perfect. So that is our drop-down menu. One last thing to do is create a hover state for it. So let's select this. And we'll make a quick selection. We'll call it hover state. And we'll give it the color of our bevel here. So FA, FA, FA. Some very quick fixes. Okay, so that is the hover state. Okay, now I will put this below the actual top BG layer because on the top, as you can see here, it adds a bit of extra glow, so I don't want that. Okay, something like this, and this actually looks more realistic. Okay, good. Let's have a look. So pretty simple so far. We defined our grids, the 2 grids. We made our background and we created our header. In the next video, we'll go ahead and start working on the actual content, which is going to show the blog posts. So thanks for watching so far. I will see you in the next video.